Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the For the Doers podcast, where we celebrate the people who work hard to achieve their dreams and don't settle for less. I am Sayda, your host, and today I am joined by the wonderful Janis Sadoyama. How are you, Janis?
Oh, I'm doing good. This is a great way to start a Monday.
Right. It's a holiday here in the US, but we are still here doing what we do. Because, honestly, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else on a Monday morning.
Agreed. It sets the tone for the week.
Yes. And that's why we're here today. I'm going to jump right into it. Last week, my check-in was a challenge. I just wasn't feeling well, but again, getting straight into it, I wasn't feeling well, but I just wouldn't accept it and just felt like I had to do all the things. And struggled to even just get the check-in going because I just wasn't feeling well, but I thought I was being lazy and because I felt so tired, and I had been working out quite a bit the days and weeks prior. And of course, after a couple of friends listened to the podcast, including the wonderful Miss Janice here, and she said exactly what I knew she would. Have some grace with yourself. I saw the message. I'm like, don't.
Right. It's almost like the doer's curse, though, right? Like,
Yes.
never feeling like you've done, or you're always feeling like you can do more.
Yes.
Even when your tank is empty, you're like, there's
Yes.
still more I can do, where I still need to do more things.
Yes. And I just couldn't accept that. Once again, my body was like, something's going on here that's not right. and not addressing it and just thinking, oh my God, no, I can't stop. And I think that in retrospect, and of course having meditated on it a little bit, it was just I was having an adverse reaction to something and I just wasn't well. But I think that's a reflection of what a lot of us are going through the last couple of years, with so much uncertainty, and you don't even want to open up any news app because you're like, oh my God, what's gonna happen now? And I was saying to Janice, I'm definitely the type of person, when there's chaos, just say to myself, like, you're the only thing you can control, and then not being able to control how I feel, like, physically, was, I think then that's when my own fear came out. And I was like, no, like, I can't slow down. This is all I have, is doing the things that I need to do. I can't just lay here and not feel well.
But isn't it interesting? I feel like the physical body is what will demand grace from you at all costs. Like, your mind will go and you're like, oh, I need to do all these things. Your body's like, we need a break.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's my again, that was me, I think, operating from a place of fear of like, oh my God, I'm making so much progress, with working out, and now I actually can see it. I can't stop now. I gotta do more. how can I just stop when I'm supposed to just do more now, you know?
I hear you.
And it's not the best place um to operate from because it's fear. I mean, it's literally just operating from like, oh my God, if I don't do this, something bad's gonna happen, or I'm just gonna, turn into a pumpkin. I don't know.
But it's so interesting, right? Like the parallel between like extra, I totally get it. I was like, I've been out of the gym for 2.5 weeks,
Oh
like
my
not
Lord.
feeling well. Yeah. And then it's like, great, because
Yeah.
muscle memory is kind of a thing. It's really not a thing to me. Like, like what happened? Why is everything so heavy? Um, but it's the same thing in like the professional realm too,
Hmm.
where you make these big amazing strides in work, and you're like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, I'm here, I'm in this like amazing place. Like maybe it's a promotion, or maybe it's like a higher tier salary, whatever the case may be. But like I've been there where it's okay, now we got to like do more,
Yeah.
and it's almost on the trajectory of burnout.
Yeah.
Because it's also, I think too, like
Yeah.
to your point, speaking to fear, it's like, oh, it's the fear of like this being taken away, or
Yes.
all your hard work like slipping through your fingers. So it's like, okay,
Hmm.
how do you keep the machine going? It was like you keep going and keep going.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's at the sacrifice of like your well-being and how you feel, and your body needing a break and your mind needing a break too.
Yes. Yes.
It's
To
interesting.
refresh it. It is, I always, now I can recognize when I'm on my way to burnout. And it's funny, it's like I'm not even working at a job right now. I'm like, what are you doing?
It
Like
doesn't
trying to
matter,
do all the things, because I feel like I have to. And um I realized that I was just doing so many things
Mhm.
that you have to get yourself to a space of, okay, if I want to achieve this, especially if it's like a hobby. And that's what I do. Is like, even with my hobbies, I'm like super hard on myself. Like, you have to do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, which would be great if that's the only thing I was working on, the main thing I was working
Yeah.
on, you know. And I I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you're going in a direction that's not going to be cool. That's not going to be good for you. It's just going to stress you out. And I sometimes just say, done, like, we're not doing this right now. This is going to go even lower on the priorities because it's affecting the top priorities, which
Yeah.
is my professional life and, getting back into the game, which is already mentally, hard after you've taken a
Sure.
sabbatical. I'm not back in it yet, but I'm this is like what kind of like what people call part of like what manifesting is to me, because to me manifesting is half or three quarters of it is action.
Mm.
And you have to prepare yourself for what you want to do.
Oh yeah.
So how are you going to prepare yourself if you're not focused?
Hmm.
And that's where I am proud of myself, that I've gotten to that point of, instead of being like, oh my God, I'm doing too many things, when it's too late.
Yeah.
And reprioritizing midstream and just saying, no, actually I need to spend more time here, or I need to, do a project and then not do anything for a couple of days or even a week,
No.
to just re restock my energy.
Yeah. It's a recharge. And don't you ever find like once you've taken a little bit of a break, or you've stepped away from something, um, my honey always tells me, like when I'm like stressed out, he's like, just come outside for a minute and like breathe
Yeah.
some fresh air, or take like a walk around the house or something, where you just got to shift out of that, and
Yes.
then coming back to something, the focus is there, the intention is back on track.
Right.
And I think like having those tools, like you say, where you're like, oh, before burnout happens and I can catch it midstream, I can turn it around or change direction. I think that's
Mhm.
huge. Like having those tools in your toolkit to be able to navigate whatever like comes in your way, because it's not easy all the time. Like of course it's like it's
No.
between life and professional life and all the things in between, being able to kind of like dodge and
Yeah.
jump over and do. I'm like totally picturing a video game where you're like hopping over things. Um,
Roger.
but right, but it keeps you kind of at peace and out of that fear-based
Yes.
headspace, because you're like, oh, you know what? I know where this is kind of going. So before it gets
Mhm.
there, like I'm gonna turn it around and take a breath.
Yeah.
And and sometimes I don't know if you feel this way where you're like, but I can't take a break right now. Like I have to just keep on charging.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's me.
But then it's like, oh, one would argue, is the quality just as good if you were to take a break
Yeah.
and really like be intentional and focused?
That's I think that's the goal, is to be intentional about everything, including when you take a break and take some time off and recharge.
Hmm.
Um, that's definitely a tool I've been using. I think a lot of us, with having, the lockdowns and all of that, you do start to appreciate your life,
Oh yeah,
the people around you. And that's what I'm being way more intentional about, is who I have around me, who I
that's
spend time
huge.
with,
Yeah.
you know. And when you really pay attention to that, it's like, whoa,
Mhm.
it's a great thing to be intentional about, because it's like one of those old self-help things that I remember is like, you are like a receiving set. And when you have certain people around you and all of a sudden these negative thoughts start coming into your head, you're like, where'd that come from? It's who you hanging around with.
Mhm.
It's who you're listening to, it's who you're interacting with. Do you have, like, I hardly have anybody that brings drama into my life
That's amazing.
at this point. And because I have been brutal with just like, nope, nope, not doing that, not doing that. And being intentional about who I spend more time with, and engaging more with the people who, wow, I have great conversations, positive conversations, enjoying the same things. Like yesterday, I went over a friend's, and hung out in their beautiful backyard, and we were just eating the best cheese and bread and champagne and listening to French cafe music. Like, what's better than that?
Yeah.
And I got to pick some lavender.
Okay,
Like,
that's the icing on the cake.
and just doing more of those things actually energizes you, and those are the people who energize you. You feel comfortable around them, and like I said, you love the same things, you enjoy the same things, or
Mhm.
similar things, and you can engage and have good conversations, and it's positive and no one's bringing drama.
Love that.
um Love that. Give me more of
Love
that.
that.
you know
100%. And what's
and
interesting too is like you said, you've been so mindful about selecting people who are in your circle and protecting your peace and like not bringing the drama. It's like, I'll be honest too. There's times where I'm like, I told you, I'm like, I graduated, I have a degree in pettiness, and like, it doesn't come out. I don't flex that often, but it happens. It happens, and I know it's happening, and I'm like, it's when I'm like calling up
I
girlfriends and
live.
I'm like, tell me about the gossip. Like, but
Right?
at the same time, the right space too will be like, well, let's not judge the situation, or let's let it pass versus like being inundated every day with it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
your circle will also keep you in check,
Yes.
you know.
Absolutely.
If I like as
Absolutely.
if you're the culprit of like the drama or I mean, not that I would hope that I'm not the cause of drama, but if I want to like,
Sometimes we are. Come
right,
on. We
you're like,
all
yeah,
get to that petty
hmm,
place where you know, you know where we're going with that. But it's
hmm,
like, how long do you stay
yeah,
there? You know?
it's true. So I love that because it's so important, like who you share space with, and like and time is like our most precious commodity. Like, who are you going to
Yes.
spend that time with, and like what
Yes.
do you want to absorb from those relationships and friendships and things like that. Like, that sounds like an amazing way to spend the day.
Yeah, it's the best
Mhm.
if you can do it, and if you don't have that, just looking towards that,
Yeah.
having that, um, I think is the best thing for that is self-care. That is just, we have a mental health crisis in the US, like clearly. There are a
Mhm.
lot of issues here. I mean, you go outside and you're like, ooh, what's gonna happen today? Am I safe? You don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
When and where you will be safe. Um, which is another little variable of fun that we've added to our lives in this country. Um, but I think you have to, with the whole negativity that like the media is completely negative now. I mean, they just always go for that clickbait and getting your attention with negative things. So you do have to, for yourself, just be incredibly intentional about how you spend your time and what you are ingesting, because that is like, I love my Twitter because it is, look, I don't get my tea from my real life, but I get it from people I don't know.
Right. You're like, I brought my cup.
I brought my
Fill
cup.
her up.
But I had to put I did talk about that, is like putting those limits on your social media, so that I'm not getting more than 20 minutes of pettiness and sometimes hilarity. I mean, that's what I honestly love about Twitter, is just like there's so many funny people.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of toxic people, just like everything else online, like super toxic. Um, but it's really up to us to put those little boundaries on our time, and what we ingest, because I think that social media is another thing where you're just like, depending on what you're ingesting, one day you can just be like, oh my God, negative, negative, negative. And then you don't realize it's like, well, you're looking for it, you're ingesting it
Yeah.
in a purposeful way. What do you think's going to happen?
True.
And it takes away your energy also.
I want to touch on, I think we chatted about it just a little quick thing before we jumped on like
Yeah.
hit record per usual, but
Yeah.
you saying giving yourself some grace, and I think that's so parallel to being patient with yourself, so
Mm-hmm.
you're not like super reactionary.
Yes.
So like I think having grace is also like pausing before the fear seeps in, and then you're
Yeah.
making decisions from that headspace. It's like, okay, hold
Yes.
on, let's see, like, and some days it comes easier than others, like, I'll be
Oh,
completely honest, where it's like, oh, today we're just gonna observe, and then And then sometimes it's like bull in a china shop.
Yes, yes. Oh my God. Yeah, you don't always, and that is having grace with yourself too, is like knowing that some days are easier than others.
Yeah.
And saying like, yeah, this is just one of those days, you know. Um, you shouldn't have tons of those. I don't know. It depends on you and what you're going. Like, I shouldn't be preachy and say you shouldn't have blah blah blah. But this is me, that doer's curse.
Same. I was just listening to that. I was like, yeah, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, just giving yourself the time and grace to just, we all, I think, need to understand that we are not the same people that we were a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We need to just, yeah, just take it easy on ourselves and like focus on, you know, the things that help strengthen us and the people who help strengthen us. And we do that for them too, because I think that's another way of having or getting energy, is giving energy to somebody who
Oh, yeah.
needs it, you know, um, giving your time, which is incredibly valuable, to somebody who needs it at some moment. And it doesn't even matter how small it is, because you get something when you give. You really do. You
Oh, yeah.
feel like, I don't know. I do. Like, I'm
Same.
totally motivated by giving and helping other people, um, you know, improve or be better. Uh, so I definitely suggest that to anybody who is feeling down about themselves, or, you know, like I said, I'm speaking from a place of knowledge when it comes from to depression and anxiety and those things. And no, that's the, it will not cure depression to just do things for other people, but it does help. It really does, because we have, I think we have a give and take relationship as a people, as a society. And that's how we can make a difference right now, is not giving into all of the nonsense on social media. Now, you know, that being said, I think that people do need to speak truth now. Um, you know, I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, thoughts and prayers are enough. They're not. And like I said earlier, manifesting, to me, is 75% action. You have to be part of that change that you want to see anywhere, especially in your own life. You have to start that momentum of making those things happen. And, you know, when it always comes back to the people around you. It's like, you got to be careful who you're telling your dreams to, you know, super careful. Because not everybody has your best interest in mind. That's something that it's been hard. You know, I seem like I'm so like strong and focused and stuff, but I'm a very trusting person. And it has bitten me on the ass so many times. And we have to be realistic. Not everybody wants the best for you. And if you can feel when someone has your best interest in mind,
Yeah.
and you probably don't have tons of those people around you who does.
Yeah.
But you know,
It's a
that's who I
bummer that
want to
it's few
share.
and far between. Yeah.
Well, exactly. You know, and that's who you want to share with.
And at the
Um,
same time, you don't want to compromise how you are, because you're like, no, I want to share my hopes, my dreams, because I'm excited about them.
yes.
And I like, but that's like an internal thing, I feel like, for another party who's not, whoever like doesn't have your best interest, or, isn't excited for you, or all those things, like that's their own stuff, that they're like, it has nothing to do with
Right.
you. So it's a bummer that, it translates to that. But like having the perspective of knowing that, like, oh, it's not me. It's like there's some internal stuff that, because I'll catch myself sometimes too, where I'm like, man, looking at like successful businesses or successful, people and things like that. And it's like, oh, why not me? And it's,
Yes.
like, oh, or like nitpicking something small. And it's like, oh, it's because, I want that too. Or I want, like you want this level of achievement. You're like, all right, well, that person clearly works hard, or,
Yes.
it's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
There's so much that happens behind the scenes, like you working on your goal, like you said, manifesting 75% doing. It's a lot of work.
It is. It's a lot of work. And but it's your work. If you want to achieve things,
100%.
you have to get there. But it's again, being really purposeful about what you want, and taking that wonderful little golden egg that you have, that you're that's growing. It's like, don't put it in anybody's hands, because somebody might break it.
You're like, you can look at it, you cannot touch it.
No, like I don't even let people look at it. And that comes from, really being intentional about wanting things to happen, because we know that we influence each other. I think that's the biggest point I want to make, is protecting protect those dreams that you have, because if you're really doing the things to make it happen, you have to understand not everybody's like that.
Yeah.
Not everybody's in that same space that you are. Not everyone is, and I'm saying that again from the experience, from what I'm going through right now, is like when I got intentional about having the right people around me, like, and I committed to that, it just happens. And all these people that you're aligned with will come to you with the same attitude and the same mindset. And it's not that people who don't have that doer's mindset are bad, or it's just a different mindset. So that's why you really have to be careful with what you share, I think, with people, because I'm trying to think of an analogy for that, but that's why I said it's like your little baby. Who are you going to hand that to? You don't just hand something special that you have to anybody.
Yeah. And it's a part of you too.
Exactly.
It's so personal that it's
exactly.
You trust only certain people.
Yes, because you don't know. Again, someone who just is projecting from their own experience might not be able to treat your baby with TLC.
Right.
Because they just can't, and they're not in that mindset. And I think that is so important, because you can't give up. You have to continue to achieve your goals, but you got to be careful who you're sharing with. And again, that's also, to me, self-care, is not putting things out there. And that's, to me, it's not fear, because it's hard. It sounds like almost like I'm coming from a place of fear, but I'm not. It's a place of intention. To, like I said before in one episode, that's how you protect your peace, is by setting boundaries. I don't know, that's been on my mind so much lately, because I feel like I'm coming to like a culmination of a lot of things I've been working on. And I just want to say, like, protect your positivity, your peace, be conscious of what you're bringing into your life, and who, but again, not coming from a place of fear. I think we have to protect ourselves from that because there is so much of it out there.
Of course.
So that's kind of my take today.
I love it. And I'm so thankful that like you share what's top of mind for you and like
Yeah.
the emotions and the challenges and the wins that you're experiencing, because it's like so real life and it's so human, and
Thank you.
it's like a peek into like your life, and not just professional but personal, because so much of it overlaps. And I feel like getting rid of the stigma of talking about it is huge.
Yes.
Because I almost feel I did not know 10 years ago Sayda, or 20 years ago Sayda. I wish I did, but we have 20, 30 years in the future to go. But
I don't know. This is the best one, I think.
I feel like it would be, let's not talk about it. Let's just keep on trucking.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like feelings, we're just gonna stuff them down and keep working.
Yes. Yes. Because 20 years ago, you didn't talk about that stuff. My parents didn't talk about that stuff. It's like, we are immigrants and we are the model minority.
100%.
We don't talk about stuff like that. What is that?
100%.
I mean, I didn't talk to my dad about depression until like I just didn't have a choice. Like I went through a whole breakdown and everything, and my dad didn't even know what was going on because I didn't even know how to talk to him about it. But that's a lot of us. This gentleman came from another country and supported a family and worked his butt off. Like depression, what the hell's that? So yeah, it's and that to anybody who struggles, I would say it's just a constant work in progress. That's what it is. Constant work in progress. You have to think about yourself that way and take it easy on yourself.
Give yourself the grace. But it's important.
It is.
And it allows you to do more. Like it allows you
Yes.
really to do all the other things too.
Yes.
Just by taking a moment to recenter.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Like I'll be good.
You're like, yes, ma'am. I'm gonna check in with you. You guys, I'm gonna don't you worry. I will be on her. There will be an update.
Oh, thank you, Janice. It's like I said, it's a work in progress. It's the doer's curse, to just we want to do it all. You're like that too.
It's true. It's also nice to you can't, like, I love that saying where you can do it all, you just can't do it all at once.
Ooh, I like that.
I love that saying, because it's like, yeah, no, of course you can do anything and everything you want to do.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that. I will keep that in mind. I'll get better, I promise.
We all are. Everybody's guilty of it. So.
Yes. But I know as I sit here and tell everybody else to take it easy on themselves.
Right? You're like, what do I got to do today?
Well, we were once again saying, before we started recording, would you say that to a friend who called you up and says they're all stressed out? But it's like, yeah, but if it was my sister, I'd be like, get to work.
Right?
Get back to work.
Right. It's true. Not the same advice for everybody.
That's true. It depends on who it is. Well, thank you so much, Janice. It's
Oh,
so
thank
good to
you.
see you and have you back on the podcast.
Oh,
I,
always.
I miss talking to you, and thanks for always being so objective and being one of those people. I'm so grateful for you, Janice, because I do
Absolutely.
have someone who's like on the same wavelength and mindset. And you're one of the people I appreciate the most that the universe has wonderfully brought,
Has provided
us
us to
together.
each other.
Yes.
I love that. It's true. Somebody once told me, like, you'll meet the people you're meant to meet. Your paths will cross when when the time is right. And it's like, ain't that the truth?
It always, you can always count on that, or at least I do.
I do too. I love that.
Thank you so much, Janice, again. And thank you to everyone who's listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will have many more wonderful conversations and guests, a lot of new guests coming soon, and great topics. One of the topics that I really want to talk about too is spirituality. Yes, that's
Love
coming
that.
up soon. I want to talk about spirituality, the good and the bad of it. Mainly the good, and exploring what we're all looking for when it comes to spirituality, because I think that's part of this conversation too, is like, giving yourself that grace also requires like some type of compassion and things that only come from really getting in tune with yourself internally.
Yeah.
And how do we find that?
Yeah. Ooh, I
Who
can't
do
wait for those conversations. I
Girl, who do
love
we
that.
find it in? Is it real?
Right.
So yeah, we have such great things that will be coming up. Super exciting. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. Be good to yourself. What was your quote again, Janice? You can do it all, but you don't have to do it all at once. I love
Yes.
that.
Right.
Yes, be good to yourself. Have an amazing week, everyone. I hope that you are productive and you're proud of yourself, and you also take time to relax and recharge. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful week. Bye.